let's get into it. So how we're going to do this is we're just going to look and analyze the email. We're going to tell you what we like. We're going to tell you what could be suggested to change, and we'll give you some modifications that we believe to be true. Now, in the chat, if you want to give some feedback as well, you can absolutely do that too. You could be like, hey, I like this email, or hey, here's something I would suggest to do. It's completely up to you on how you want to give feedback in the chat. Our goal here is to give you feedback on how to be better. All these emails will not be elite emails, right? But we have a mix of them. And these are real emails, by the way, that people have submitted. We did not just make these up. These are real emails that people have submitted. So, Will, let's get into the feedback here. As you look at this email, give us some things that you like and some things that you're like, okay, maybe they could do without it.
So let me just start by saying this email will probably get a response, right? And the reason it'll probably get a response is because of the personalized nature of it, right? Like this is clearly a one-to-one email. And so you're just going to tap into that psychology principle of reciprocity, right? And like people are just going to respond because you put the effort in. Now, does that mean it's a good email? No. it could still use some love. It could still like use some help here. That middle paragraph is really bulky. I do love, I wonder if this person follows my content because I'm a big fan of breaking up long sentences into choppier ones, but I would still break this up into smaller paragraphs. So like breaking that, basically they found any moment where there could be a comma and they turned it into a period. And the reason this matters is because if you're looking at the email data, most emails are written at or beyond a 10th grade reading level, which means you're using big words, long sentences, and the person on the other end just tunes out and is just overwhelmed. This paragraph, the idea is there, right? You took it literally, which I appreciate, but like the idea behind it is like, hey, you should probably think about the content and break that up a little bit more so it's easier to digest. On a mobile phone, that paragraph is going to be like really heavy to try to get through. And so, and by the way, that's where they're 8 times more likely to have their first read through. And so those are just some like early impressions and thoughts. The CTA at the bottom feels really wordy. But like, I love the personalized nature of it. So like, if a rep comes to me with this, like, I want to just like, first and foremost say like, keep doing what you're doing. You're focused on the right things, which is like building that one-to-one connection.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat anything you said because everything is spot on there. So hopefully y'all took notes. I want to double click on the PS. I think one of the things that I always encourage people to do is if you want to add in something that maybe isn't good as the first intro sentence, but it's still good from a personal level, put it in the PS, right? Because if they would have maybe started with that PS, it might have not have stood out in that email. So it's good to put it in the PS just to have it stand out and be like, okay, this is something unique. It's good. To Will's point, I like the first sentence. It shows like, okay, this is a one-to-one. And something I also suggest is if you, let's say right here on this next sentence, right, as you said, multi-touch and prospecting is definitely working, but this requires the additional bandwidth of your team. So these two sentences, you could have brought this into a question. You could have been like, based on what you said from multi-touch, how are you currently addressing that with your team, right? You could have asked that as a question and then gone into, hey, the reason for this question, and that could have gone into your value prop, which could have condensed the email as well. So that's like my feedback on it. But overall, I think from an email standpoint as a whole, this is a solid email, right? That probably would get maybe a response because most emails are pretty standard and pretty stock.
Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking through here is there's a core question I'll ask any seller when they're showing me an email, and that is why? Why are you sending this email to somebody? And I'm lacking a lot of clarity on what that means. So it's like, as you said, multi-touch prospecting, like there's just a lot going on in here. And I know like it's personalized and so the intent's really good. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll respond and like give it the time of day because it's one-to-one. But at the same time, the entire time I'm wondering like, what do you want? Like, what is this about, right? And I think that could be clarified a little bit more. People are just going to get lost in the weeds of this.
I agree.
I'm
Absolutely.
also not sure what
So
a digital channel is.
do you feel like that's jargon that maybe that's not necessary?
Yeah, like I feel like there's a clear way to say that, right? Like, hey, could you imagine if your team had a like e-commerce store for buying the product or something? Like you can tell I
Mhm.
literally don't know what a digital channel is because I'm reaching for ways to tie it back in. I'm like, what could be an easier way to describe it? Is like digital channel isn't it? Like if you told me you have a digital channel for your team, I'm like, what does that mean? Is that like a
Yeah.
is that a white paper?
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think that's another thing for everyone to also take a step back on as well. Is that if you have jargon that you use internally, but it would confuse people externally, don't use it. Now, the only scenario is they use this and maybe the prospect knows what this means, right? And maybe it was in the talk, right? But at the end of the day, like if it's not there, then it's just don't do that. So that's the key thing there. So one thing as well as you'll continuously throw in questions, try to put it in the Q&A so that we can gather it and I can address it and we can do it. But if you have overall questions, throw them in the Q&A. But we do have some questions coming in here, and also as well, there will be subject lines on the ones upcoming. This one they did not submit a subject line, so we asked for it, they didn't submit it, so nothing that we could do about it. But I guess essentially what they're saying here, Tom's got a question. What was the first comment you made about this email, Will, splitting the wording? They want to hear that again.
Yeah. So if you're looking at an email, like say I took this exact same email and in that middle paragraph, I just combined them all into basically one sentence. I see this all the time. Those long sentences are actually going to hurt your chance of getting a response. So by breaking them up into blockier sentences, you improve your chance of getting a reply because it's easier for the reader to scan the information and thusly understand it. And if they understand it, they're more likely to respond. That said, this paragraph itself is too bulky and like there's ways that we could lighten this up. Like just using the word additional bandwidth, like why can't you just say requires more time from your team, right? There's shorter words we can use as well. It's not just the sentence structure; it's also the words that go into it um, that can help as far as like ways to shorten and lighten up this email.